Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Broyans Farm.
We're gonna move into seeding our last batch of cole crops, which we always call our late season, which is our biggest batch. So that's gonna kind of be mostly on me because I'm gonna be using the seeder. And then Sammy is gonna work on seeding our last batch of watermelon. Not cantaloupe yet because they don't take quite as long to grow. But before I can do any of that, I gotta go out to the actual field itself that we're gonna be planting the cantaloupe and watermelon in and count what we already planted, because we got to see how many we can fit in that field yet, and we don't really know exactly, but when I go out and count the plants, that'll be almost the exact number we need. I swear, after a fresh rain, when we haven't had anything in a while, everything just goes radical. You can see how thick and beautiful and lush those red beets are straight out the row. The pickles are starting to vine out just a little bit. You see deer walk through the plastic. I hate that. It's only gonna create weeds. Here is the cole crops, early season that I got cultivated. Obviously there's still some weeds there, but I did as best of a job as I could have. I don't really know if I'm gonna get through these again, just because you can see how they're really bushing out and I don't wanna harm them. And then there's obviously the dill, which I've been saying now a couple times. I want to get through here and weed these before they get too bad. Cultivating definitely helps, but definitely not a cure-all. Beans are doing awesome. Straight out the row. Here comes Sammy coming down the lane right now. And what I'm doing is, like I said, I'm gonna go through here and count every single plant out to that wood line and see how many I get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 180, 181, 182, 183, 184, 185. So 185. Pretty simple. I'll get back and give that information to Sammy. We only have 2 and 3, making 5. We already planted 3, 6. So we don't have, obviously, as many rows down below as we do up here, which is fine, but we just got to figure out what we want more of, unless we want to try and split it directly in half, which we could do. I know these plants aren't that big yet, but they are just gorgeous. Beautiful. They definitely grew since we planted them, that is for sure. Watermelon don't grow quite as fast as cantaloupe, hence the reason why we're planting watermelon a couple days earlier than the cantaloupe. But they were pretty small when we planted them. We always got to make sure they're big enough, that way they're poking out of the plastic when we put them in the ground, because if they get caught underneath that plastic, well, they're usually just gonna die. So we always try and be careful with that. Like this guy, he's borderline. Maybe try and help him out here just a little bit. I think he's gonna be okay though. So I just fed the cows their chop, which is a mixture of corn, oats, and soybean meal. This guy don't like me watching him. And now I can finally get back up to the greenhouses with Sammy, and we can start planting. Alrighty, so I'm back here in the greenhouses. Sammy's over in number 2 getting some flats filled, and she's gonna be here in a couple minutes. We had to do a lot of figuring to get all the seeds and how many flats we want of everything figured out. Now I went and got everything put together. I got my vacuum. Then the line will come to my tray. I have like my medium hold tray because the seeds aren't really tiny, but they're also not huge. I got my tray holder, and then here is my makeshift dibble board. This is my actual dibble board, but it's kind of warped, so I've just went with the regular tray that I'm actually planting into to make my impressions in the soil, which you'll see all that here in a little bit. And so now I have my list from last year of what I'm gonna be planting, and that's gonna include about 3 to 5 different varieties of cabbage. The same's gonna go for cauliflower. We have kohlrabi, we have the regular green, and the new red variety. We have collard greens, kale, and maybe just some red cabbage. I think that's just about everything. Let me look that over. Oh, and broccoli. Totally forgot about broccoli. First cabbage on the list is gonna be Cheers. So I'll type that in there if you can read that. And then I'll put the date. I don't know why, I just always do, which is 6 15. Oh, not 25, 15. Print. Tells me text too high. I don't know what that means. Okay, so I got it figured out. I accidentally had another date underneath that one. It was causing it to be too wide. It couldn't print. So there we go, saying printing copies. Okay to feed, yes. Cut it off. And there it is. So we're gonna be doing 2,500 seeds of cabbage, which is gonna be 5 flats. So I'll do this 5 times. Once my tags are made, then I can start putting them on my 512 seed trays, which is these guys right here. These are really nice because they have a sticky side on the back side. So I'll rip that off, rip the other side off, and then this will stick right fast to my tray. And I'll know exactly what it is. Boom, day purple. The purple is a purple cauliflower, which people usually go nuts over just because they've never seen it before. And it basically tastes just like regular white cauliflower does. So I've got a pretty high stack of trays here I gotta do. This is just about everything, including these 4 half trays and another full one. I just got started. I got some collard greens done and a little bit of the cauliflower. But I got a long way to go yet. Probably gonna fill up all of this table and get into this one. Sammy is just starting to seed. This is some sort of watermelon here. Seedless for sure. So I'm gonna start out here with my pot of the purple. This soil is different than our potting soil. It's a little bit finer, not as big of chunks. That way it goes down into these little tiny cells easier. Make sure I get them all nice and full. Give it a little bit of a shake. Get it to settle down in there nice. And now we're ready to make my impressions. So that's when, like I said, I'll use the same 512 seed tray. And I will make about a 1/4 inch impression in that soil all the way around, as even as possible, for that seed to lay into. That looks pretty good. Let me give a little more back here. Okay. Now we'll turn it right around and we'll put it in my tray holder. It kind of clips down in there nice. Just like that. Make sure it's all the way down. Now we come over here to the vacuum and start seeding. And that's it right there. So this is actually a different type of seed, but it's still cauliflower. And now for the last and final step, I'm gonna go over it with this stuff called vermiculite. Kind of acts like a little bit of a sponge, covers the seed, and you know, keeps that moisture in there once we water it. I don't want to cover too much, but I definitely want to cover enough. Try to do a nice even covering. My general rule of thumb is once I cover it enough where I don't see the individual cells no more, that's perfect. All right, so Sammy is now working on the watermelon. We're using the same trays we used for the early patch of cantaloupe and watermelon. These trays actually came from our strawberries when we planted them in plugs in a field last fall, or yeah, fall. And so they actually seem to work really well because they have that point on them and it helps to push them into the ground with the water wheel planter. And so she found that the singles we use for like retail pickles and cucumbers work nice to make impressions in the soil, because obviously you can't use these. It'll just be a point down in. And so she'll do that around a 1/2 inch until it just looks something like that. And then she'll grab her seed, which I don't even know what she's working on right now, some sort of seedless watermelon, could be yellow or red. And then she'll place 3 seeds in each cell. And I'll show you that in a couple of minutes as soon as she's done. Is this red seedless or yellow seedless?
Red seedless.
And that's basically it right there. And then, like I said, as soon as she's done, we'll go back over that and cover that with what we usually use is seeding soil, which is what I'm using to plant the cole crops, but we're running low, so she's just using the potting soil and doing the best job that she can. So as far as seeding goes, with the actual like vacuum seeder, it is completely now done for the 2024 season. This is all of the cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, kohlrabi that we're gonna be planting in our late season patch. And then, like I said, Sammy got all of the watermelon done here in these like 50 cell trays. We still gotta go back through now and plant cantaloupe and our late season batch of pickles, cukes, and zooks. But for the most part, and the biggest part, is now finished up. Today is June 16th. I think we've been picking berries now for a little over 3 weeks. Don't quote me on that. And we're coming out here this morning, which is a Sunday, to pick some berries for the farm market. We decided to close for actually today and tomorrow in the berry patch just for the U-pick, because there's not a lot of berries out here. People were coming out at the end of yesterday just saying how it was getting slim pickings. You know, they had to walk a long ways. And so we decided, you know what, let's wait for them to get a little bit better. But I am now out here at the far end, furthest from the cart where everybody parks. And I'm looking out through the berry field here and I don't see a berry that is anywhat remotely good. Now this is what exactly I want to see. There was three berries right there that were picked off. There was probably 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I mean, you can just see all those stems there with nothing on the end. It was a berry, and the only thing that's left is one little tiny shriveled up one there and here. So I mean, we had an awesome season, not only with berries but also with customers coming out and picking. They cleaned us right off almost completely. My mom was actually mentioning that Tuesday could possibly be our last day, which is the next day we have to be set to be open. And so I think it's a good call, because honestly, I am seeing absolutely nothing. It's like a shame, because, you know, I want to keep picking berries, but it's also a good thing because it means that we didn't have really any berries go to waste. So Sammy and I are going to drive out through, keep looking, see if we can find anything half decent. But if not, the market's just not going to be able to have any berries today.
So we didn't pick any berries. There just wasn't really anything out there. Mom came down here into the high tunnel just to get some of the first green tomatoes of the season. I mean, they're huge.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Is that all you're getting?
Yeah.
Next thing on the agenda today is I actually got to head back out to the golf course next to the farm market where I had the corn maze, and we need to get some rocks out of the field where they're actually not in the field no more. We moved them out before planting, and they're kind of in the way now for the golf course owners to mow. And so I'm gonna take my dump trailer, truck, and skid loader out and take the skid loader and move those rocks probably just into the nearest hedgerow, because they're just way too big to move by hand. We got like 4 rocks there, 1 monster there, a couple monsters over there, and then, you know, a couple more down towards the corner of that field. So I'm just gonna go through now with the skid loader, try and get them up with the bucket. Hopefully I don't have to do a lot of manual labor, but we'll see what happens. All of these rocks came out of this section right here. This guy is an absolute monster. He's got to weigh 250 pounds, at least.
That's what I'm calling it a wrap for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and always remember it ain't much, but it's honest work.